What if we flipped everything upside down? Like, what if the good characters become the villains? But how can I do it? Like this. First, I happily grab my sketchbook, open it up, take my pencil, and now I'm ready to draw. But this is the worst part of drawing. I've always had this fear, having the motivation to draw, but having absolutely no idea what to draw. So, to fix that, I have a very good trick. The trick is kissing my cat. Alright, let's actually solve this problem properly. How? By searching and looking at a bunch of references. So I start searching and looking for lots of ideas. But what actually am I looking for? The most innocent fictional character I can find. Why? So I can turn them into a villain. And guess what happened? We did it. Who is it? Cinderella. Alright, let's start sketching. I grab a few sheets of paper and start doing some sketches of Cinderella. And please don't make fun of my first sketches, okay? I keep going and let's see what happens. Now we're moving on to my third sketch. This time I focus a little bit more and honestly I think it turned out really good. But the fourth sketch, that one's not very impressive. Still, I need a sketch of Cinderella that gives me the confidence to finally start my main idea. This is going to be the last one. So I put the main reference right in front of me. Then I bring out my little magic box. I start adding shadows to the drawing and finally, here it is. The fifth sketch was a success. Now it's time to move to my sketchbook. The sketchbook I was honestly too scared to draw in because I thought I'd ruin it. I don't know why. So I redraw Cinderella in it completely. After a lot of careful work, I finally managed to draw her accurately, just like the original Cinderella. And honestly, that was one of my biggest goals, being able to draw a character exactly the way they look. And of course, I also add her tiny friends on the next page, the little mouse and the bird. But does the story end here? Of course not. Which villain should Cinderella be mixed with? There are so many cool villains out there. So, which one we should choose? And it's none other than Yzma. Wow. Before I move to the next step, I seriously need some coffee to keep going. Now I need to find a good reference. There are tons of references on Pinterest and honestly, just makes choosing harder. But there's a solution that I love, and that solution is myself. I'm going to take some photos and videos of myself so I can create my own reference. Next step, I want to use Procreate, but I also want to work traditionally. So, what should I do right now? There is one thing we can do. I use both. I build the structure in Procreate first so I can draw it more accurately by hand. And then I start working on my own villain Cinderella. I just have to keep sketching until one of them finally turns out good. This is the final result. But the first sketch wasn't satisfying at all. She looked way too innocent and honestly nothing really changed. So I moved to the sketch number 2. This time I really mix her with Yzma, but I need to confess something. Drawing hands is incredibly frustrating. So I take more reference photos of myself and finally I did it. I finished the face and the outfit. So is the second sketch the final sketch of this challenge? Nope. It still has a lot of problems. Well, looks like 1 or 2 sketches wasn't enough. So let's try a few more. The first and second sketches actually turned out pretty good, but they can still get way better. So after all these sketches, should I finally start coloring? No, these are all still Cinderella sketches and I want to try something different. So I'm going to use Procreate for the final sketch. Finally, the result is exactly what I wanted. Anyway, what's the next step? First, I cut my cardboard. Second, I print the sketch in different sizes. Third, I transfer the sketch onto the cardboard. To be honest, this part is so satisfying for me. You know what? I always try to copy the drawing as clean as possible onto the cardboard. Then I place masking tape around the edges. By the way, the weather is cloudy and I'm about to start coloring. My favorite part has finally started, coloring. But do I have an idea for what technique I'm going to use? Of course I do. My favorite technique is colored pencils, and I'm going to use my 240 color pencil set for the sensitive parts like the face and the body. Why? Because I'm super comfortable with this technique. Well, I've spent about 1 week working on this drawing, so
It has to turn out great.
I've put so much time into it that I wanted to have as few flaws as possible. But an important question comes up. Did I learn coloring in a special art class? Nope. First time I picked up color pencils, I created this piece. Now I'm moving to coloring my character's hair. I'm making the hair brown and golden so it still keeps a bit of that Cinderella vibe. And this is the result of coloring the main parts. So, how does it look so far? Now it's time for gouache, one of the coolest techniques that I really love. Well, I'm not super professional with it yet, but that's not gonna stop me from doing it. So, I use my biscuit glue after years and it smells terrible. Sadly, it's completely ruined and I cannot use it anymore. So instead, I'm using a regular masking tape. I tape the important areas and then I cut the extra parts with a cutter. And now it's finally time for coloring. All my tools are ready, but there's one small problem. I'm actually a little scared of painting with gouache, so I'm going to watch a short tutorial first before I touch my main artwork. And as you can see, it's getting dark outside, so I cannot continue right now. Just kidding! I'm going to practice the tips I learned about gouache tonight. One important rule is to paint from dark to light. And another one is to wait until each layer is completely dry before adding the next layer. Honestly, painting with gouache is so satisfying, maybe even more than colored pencils. But the scary part is, one tiny mistake can ruin everything. And yeah, that part terrifies me. Okay, now it's time to color the main painting. Wish me good luck because honestly, I have no idea how this is gonna turn out. So, let's see what happens. I take a deep breath and start. I go over all the important tips in my head, so hopefully I can get a good result. And I should mention something. This is actually the first time I'm painting such a big and important piece with gouache. Even in my previous challenge, I wasn't this nervous. But honestly, even if I ruin it, I can also redraw the whole thing again. Maybe even better. After painting the dress, I remove the tapes, and I have to say they work perfectly. And I need to say that I designed the dress as a mix of Visma and Cinderella. Otherwise, you guys would probably comment that I didn't change anything. And finally, I remove the tape around the edges. But here's the truth. This is not what I wanted. This is not what I imagined. Okay, I'm putting extra work on the facial features and the hair. So I start cutting some parts with a cutter. Well, I have no idea what I'm doing right now, but there is something inside me saying if I just keep going, this is gonna turn out really good. Am I ruining my own painting? Honestly, I don't know. I really need to look for hairstyle ideas. I grab my phone and start searching for ideas for the background and the hairstyle. After a lot of searching, I finally find some good references. You know what's happening right now? This artwork is going from simple to something almost 3D. So here's the lesson. Don't be afraid and always be willing to take risks. Just because I messed up a section of my painting, I feel like I can't do anything in the right way. But that doesn't mean I have to give up. In moments like this, I prefer to do nothing.
2,000 years later.
I redraw the hair completely. And now it's time for the background. For the background, I use an old wood board and paint a dreamy blue night with a magical clouds. Around Cinderella, I also add some tall columns to make it feel more like a palace. I use dark colors to keep that magical and slightly Isma style vibe. I didn't even realize I had this much skill with gouache, to be honest. Now it's time for the final step. First, I use some foam board piece between the main layers of the drawing. This way, when I glue everything layer by layer, there's a bit of space between them. In this stage, I glue every piece of cardboard together like a puzzle. Layer by layer, the artwork starts looking more alive and way more 3D. I also attach Cinderella's new hair so she's no longer bald. And I'm adding a few details right now because I forgot to add them earlier. The final step is almost done. Do you want to see it? It almost feels like this evil Cinderella just came to life and she's staring at me. Have you ever wondered what if innocent characters suddenly became villains? Anyway, what do you think about my painting? Tell me in the comments and see you in the next video. Bye!